Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 66, where I opened with e4 and my opponent played the Petrov defense, or the Russian defense it's sometimes called. So let's check it out. I'm going to leave the chess engine off this time. There's a bunch of tactics, so you guys are in for a real feast of tactical quizzes here. And possibilities. So keep your thinking caps on and follow along. So first, a little bit about the opening. Knight f3, knight f6 is the Russian defense or the Petrov defense, and so black is just counterattacking. White attacks black's pawn, so black attacks white's pawn, and usually white will go ahead and follow up with taking. And it's a mistake to take right away, and this game sort of illustrates why. The normal course is to play the move d6, and then the knight retreats, and then the knight takes. And the reason is this move queen e2, attacking the knight. And I don't know why. Why don't they play d5 here? I guess the problem with d5 is that, let's check this out a little bit. d5 and d3. Yeah, that's what I thought. You chase the knight away, and then you've got a terrible discovered attack on the king. So this knight doesn't want to move. So the queen comes here instead, and then you take the knight, and then you take the pawn. And this queen is pinned, so it can't take that pawn. So you win a pawn that way. So anyway, let's go back to the game. Queen e2, queen e7 is the normal move, and then you can just take this knight, and it's not actually winning a piece. And in fact, black can get out of this without even losing material, although you try for a while to at least win a pawn. But what you gain, even after black gets his material back, is you gain an advantage in position. So this is really, it's just a winning position for white in the long run. So d6 is how black plays to get his material back. This pawn, this knight, the knight is pinned because the queen is attacking white's queen. White's queen is undefended, so if the knight moves away, obviously the queen goes in with check. So and you can't move the knight somewhere to defend the queen, which is one way you might get out of these things. So this pawn here is going to eventually take that knight, and so you can't really stay a piece up. But you can torture black for a while, so that if he takes the knight right away, you take back with a pawn and you stay a pawn up. And I guess the book is showing d takes e5 is a normal move here. My opponent played knight c6, which is not too bad. And I missed this idea of bishop b5. So let's just go to the notation from here because we're out of the book. I was just trying to continue with this idea of holding on to the pawn by playing bishop f4. But there's a really interesting point to the move bishop b5, which you wouldn't, if you get into this position, you wouldn't necessarily spot this right away. So if you want to take a look at it, try and imagine bishop b5 and what the follow-up for white would be. After bishop b5, black is going to play bishop to d7 to break the pin, so that much is probably obvious. But the next move after that is pretty strange. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. If you want to think about this some more as kind of a puzzle, as your first puzzle, you can pause the video and think about it. I don't know if you would spot this. This is a tricky one, so I'm going to go ahead and give the answer away now. So bishop b5. New variation, bishop to d7, blocking the pin, and the crazy move here is bishop to g5. And what's the point? Well, first of all, remember you're a piece up, so black can start taking your pieces back. You've got two pieces hanging, but he doesn't want to take the knight because you'll take the queen. So if he takes the bishop, what you have is this move here with check. And you've grabbed the knight, and so you stay a piece up. And then how can black even defend here? His king can't move because the knight is cutting off these squares, so he's got to block. And He could block with the queen or the bishop. I think it amounts to the same thing. You just basically end up exchanging a lot of stuff here. And at the end, so you have a knight and black doesn't. So you just stay a piece up and you've exchanged everything off. So that's totally winning. And it's this very strange move, bishop g5. Yeah, unless you've studied this opening, you probably wouldn't come up with that on your own, although it's an interesting idea. What you're doing is you are deflecting the queen. So the queen is out of the line between your queen and his king, so it sets up a discovered attack, and you can always get your piece back. So if the queen takes the bishop, you get your piece back. So interesting idea. I didn't play that. I played bishop f4, and now actually it's an even game. In spite of how it seemed, and I thought I was pretty much winning along here, but well, f6 was not the most precise way to play. I think the computer thinks he should just go ahead and grab the knight now, but let's follow the game for a while. So I do keep some advantage with these moves, and he finally gets the pawn, and here, back up. Here's your second tactical quiz. After he takes here, my best move, I was a little confused by this situation here. My bishop, I was a little worried I'd take the knight. He takes back, and then he grabs the bishop, and the knight is out here, and there's this check. Actually, the check is not possible because my queen is defending it. But anyway, it was a complicated situation. I just decided to simplify and exchange bishops, but that's not the best move. So there's one pretty good move here. Let's see if you can spot it. This is kind of a one-move tactic, so you have a good chance of finding this one. Just got to be calm. It's one of those situations that requires calm. See if you spot the best move. Okay, pause the video if you want to think some more. I'm going to show the answer. It is queen takes b7. And this just defends the bishop a second time. It's already defended once. Grabs a pawn and also attacks the rook. So just... it's just a good move for white. It also destroys black's chances of castling queenside, and his kingside bishop is still trapped here, whereas white's going to have an easy game with castling. And so that's it. It seems a little dangerous, I guess, because there is a discovered attack with the check. But you can just walk away from that, and everything turns out to be okay. So anyway, another computer suggestion. Okay, next move, knight takes. So I took his bishop, he takes back, and then I castled. And castling, I guess I won't turn this into a quiz, I'll just talk about it. Castling turns out to be a mistake. After I castle, he can just take the queens off, and it's pretty much an even position. I haven't done anything to stop him from castling. So computer recommends here taking, and then playing knight d5. And you know, you're threatening this pawn here, and he can't castle right away because that would leave this bishop undefended. So you know, it makes things a little bit awkward for black. He probably has to play king d8 to stop the fork. And in that case, you pick up a pawn, so that would be good for white. So that would be the best way to play it. I just castled, and then he could trade queens, and then black would be fine. It'd be an even game there. But he castled, and I played queen a4, and coming up. Is it this? No, another move here. He plays a6, and I play knight d5. Yeah, so it's this move. There's a better move than knight d5, and this is kind of a cute kind of thematic tactic. So this is a good one to puzzle over for a bit. It's kind of tactic that can occur in your own games, and it's not always obvious on the surface, but it's really just a kind of a two-move tactic that if you look for it, you should be able to find it. Okay, pause the video if you want more time to think. I'm going to give it away. The idea is, instead of playing knight d5 right away like I did, which is kind of a fork, knight d5 forks the queen and that pawn, which is already attacked by the bishop. Instead of doing that, just take that pawn with the bishop. And the point is the king can't take back, because now this fork here becomes a deadly fork, forking the king and the queen. So this bishop is untouchable. And if he starts chasing the bishop away later, you can just retreat the bishop. It's easy to get out of there. Now the way I played it with knight d5, I had the same idea of winning that pawn, but I end up with a knight on that square because his queen went here to attack my knight, so I couldn't really take with the bishop. I'd lose the knight. So I had to take with the knight if I was going to grab the pawn. And now this is a mistake. And the way that Black could punish this, he comes up with this idea later in the game. But he can start harassing me this way. He can play g5 and then f4. And now he's threatening to play f5, winning this bishop. And at the same time, this knight will no longer be defended. And there's nowhere for the knight to go. All of these squares are covered. He could go into the corner, which is a pretty sad spot for that knight, because he'd never get out, these two squares being covered. And then these squares here are all covered. If we look at all the squares the knight could go to, that's covered, that's covered, that's covered by the queen, that's covered. So no good square for the knight. And so the line might proceed. Let's see, something like here to try and get an escape square for the knight. Here. And you end up winning 3 pawns for the piece. But actually Black is slightly better after this, so the knight just can't make it out of there alive. It's too bad. So knight takes c7 was a bad move. Fortunately, my opponent, he tried a different strategy. He attacked my queen first. Move the queen out of the way. g5. And now he's got this idea, bishop g3. But he follows up. Instead of following up with f5, f4, he follows up with knight e4. And this is a definite mistake. Now, this tactic was played in the game, so you can take a second to spot it if you haven't looked at the score sheet. But pretty simple one. This is a fork. Queen here, check, and picking up the knight, and there's just no defense to that. So I am just winning here, but at this point there is, move 21. You know, I moved my queen here to set up a discovered attack on the king, and so the question here is, what's the best way to take advantage of this situation? Now, I'm a piece up to start with, so I don't mind losing this piece and, I'll get a pawn for it. I just want to rescue at least one of these pieces, either the knight or the queen. So, and I do have this discovered attack. And the question is sort of what's the best way to handle this situation? And there's a couple of good answers here. So think about it for a while. Come up with the best answer. Pause the video if you want more time to think about it. I'm going to give away the first one, which is one I think you should have spotted if you thought about it. Knight e6 check. I don't know why I didn't play this. I went to a6 grabbing a pawn, but knight e6 check is better because it hits the rook. So the king could walk away. Computer recommends interposing with the queen. Then after a trade, you grab the rook. And you have 2 rooks. This bishop is going to be trapped, but he's going to lose a pawn taking it. So you have 2 rooks against a rook and a bishop, and you have the pawn advantage. So just winning for white. So, but I wanted to say there's another tactic, and your clue is it does not involve moving the knight at all. So I go to all the trouble setting up this killer tactic with the knight, and the best defense, or one of them, starts out with a move that does not involve moving the knight. So think about this. What's your best move here, other than knight e6, other than a knight move? Okay, pause the video if you want more time to think about it. This is a pretty subtle one, and it starts with rook here, rook a d1. Okay. Now, fortunately, you're not getting checkmated, because if queen takes rook, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, you have a queen back here, and you're safe. So let's just show how that would go. Of course, you don't have to take it all. You can do a discovered attack with the yeah, this is probably the best way to do it. You'd go here, check. King is under attack. There's no more blocking except temporary ones. So, and the king can't run to these squares, so it runs here. Then you take back this way, check. So you're in good shape there if he tries to mate you on the back rank. But what if he just takes the knight? So, okay, you take his rook with check. Now the queen is pinned, so the queen can't take that rook. Only the king can take it. And now here's the big finale. Queen here, check. Forks the king and the rook. So you're just going to pick up that rook in the corner, and you'll have a queen and a rook against a queen and a bishop. And you know, that's even after he takes his bishop and you win it back. So this will be a strong position for white. Also, his bishop will be under attack. So that's just a funny tactic, because I mean the fork at the end came as a big surprise to me, and it's all because of playing rook to d1, chasing the queen to where it wants to go anyway. It was intending to take that knight, and then taking the rook to get the king to this square, and then you've got that fork with the queen. So that's a very instructive kind of tactic, I thought. Okay, so I think that was it for the cool tactics. Just do the rest of the game with my normal commentary. So I played knight a6, which I still have some slight advantage, but I play kind of sloppily from here, and before you know it, he gets into a position where actually he could draw, and I will show you here. I guess that will be one more quiz. I was running low on time and I was moving quickly, but these are not the best moves that I'm making here. But we get up to move 35 here, right here. I just attacked his rook with the move king f2, and he has two moves which could draw the game, and all other moves lose. So if you want to think defensively, this is a good defensive puzzle. So you're black, you know you're worse, but you can hold a draw still. So what's the best way to hold the draw? Okay, I'm going to give away one answer. Pause the video if you want more time to think about it. But I think the simplest defense is just to retreat the rook back to g8. And then when I try to push the pawn, the king can come to b7 here. And now the king and the rook control that square. And you know, I can come here with my rook to try and force it forward, but he can just block it like this. And so, you know, white is still slightly better, but this is probably a draw that black can hold. Okay, that was answer number one. Answer number two is even more interesting and tactical, and not so simple. So if you want some time to think about it, pause the video. This also, see if you can find a second defense for black here. It's kind of instructive too, in its own way. Okay, I'm going to give away the answer now. Pause the video if you want to think about it some more. The second defense is to take this rook and move it to c3, rook g to c3. And now if I push the pawn, the key idea is you're taking here with check. So I have to take with check again, and now I have to move the king. And that tempo gives you just enough time to get your rook behind the pawn and stop it from queening. The king could have come over too, but it was that one tempo because that pawn and then the further exchange all happens with check, forcing me to move my king and giving you the time to get behind the pawn. So those are two ways to hold the draw there. He played rook g to g5, naturally trying to block the defense of the pawn by putting a rook here on a5. I just push ahead with the pawn, and when he puts his rook there, I can double rooks, and he still can't take the pawn. I'll just end up a rook up. So this is now losing. Has been losing ever since rook g to g5. And I don't let him get away with it this time. I maintain the win. So he resigns at this point. There's no stopping that pawn from queening. But very interesting, I thought, and instructive game. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.